Look at the coloring on him, he blends right in. Just a beautiful animal. Look at the fur on him. Doesn't seem to care too much that I'm 15 feet away. He's getting his fill. He has a buddy over off to our right, but doesn't really seem to care too much that I'm sitting here watching him. Look at that coloring. He gets next to that rock, he blends right in. Just beautiful. Beautiful creature. And they live all in through here. His little partner somewhere back up over in here. Just Alaska's just so beautiful. I mean, look at where I'm walking right now. Just gorgeous. I mean, let me give you a slight panoramic here. Still got snow. We're approximately 3,800 feet up. And I will get back to you guys once I make it somewhere other than right here. See right there. How freaking cute is that? Jeez. 50 yards in, already come across a couple species of cute little critters. Anyway, I don't want you guys to hear me panting and huffing and making my way up this, but here's the terrain. There's all sorts of wildlife, and I mean, it's the wilds of Alaska. Over here by this boulder field that obviously came from up there. Just all this stuff. God. Just beautiful. All right, bear with me. I'm getting up there. Oh, almost dropped you. Greetings, Fred in Alaska. Thanks for joining me. Well, as you can see, Archangel is back around the corner there, on the back side from where I filmed before. Got an old mining road. Got some tourists down there. Got a little RV over yonder. In the beginnings of, I believe that's Willow Creek. Might be something different, don't quote me. Parasailers will jump off of that little knoll over there, parasail on down into the valley over there. Around the corner going that direction is Willow. Beyond beautiful place, let me tell you. As you can see, my backdrop is all the rock. And you should have already seen the little critters I've seen just starting up here. Past quite a few of them. What I wanted to share with you today comes from Rick. Rick is his real name. but his buddy, we'll call him Ernie, because it's an open missing person investigation and it can't find any information. It's tragic, really. So Rick is an oil field worker, retired. He bought a 10-acre lot of land down on Kenai Peninsula years before he retired. Back in '87 is when he first made inroads into developing this 10-acre plot. So he goes in there, you know, he clears a bunch of the trees, puts in a small little gravel pad road and a little pad at the end there, just for his little parking area as he decided what he was going to build, whether it be a cabin, Quonset hut, whatever it may be. So that first year, not much happened. He marked a bunch of trees that he wanted to cut down the next time he was there, because he was, again, working in oil fields, and he is working 1 week off, 3 weeks on, or something like that at the time, just bankrolling cash. Well, as he's plotting on the developing and what he's going to do, he had a buddy, a roustabout, in the oil field named, we'll call him Ernie. And Ernie was a good dude, hard-working, younger guy, at the Baskin Descent. Well, Rick hires him to come with them the following season. He's planning on taking time off and developing the property and getting as much done in a short amount of time. So as he's plotting on what he's going to do, just happenstance, he gets injured, rotator cuff injury, up on the oil field, so he's forced to take time off, and it's just as the snow was starting to melt in 1988. So he's like, okay, well, since I can't do nothing, I'm definitely gonna have to hire Ernie to be my hands, because he was limited with the rotator cuff injury. So according to what Rick was saying, it took about a month to get things worked out medically, to where he's not just going back and forth for MRIs and, you know, shit like that. You know, because he was injured on the job, he had to jump the hoops. And so, rightfully so, you know, insurance companies, they got a right to know if you're frauding them or not. But anyway, so he was doing his thing. And, sorry, not to interrupt, but I could still hear the water flowing from that little creek way on down there. It's amazing how sound will travel up here. But anyway, so as he gets done with all his medical stuff, and he just basically has to recoup. So he brings Ernie in, and Ernie is getting paid well for his time. And so they go back into his property. He didn't want me to give specifics on. Sorry, there's been bears sighted in the area, so I'm just minding my P's and Q's. Anyway, so Ernie comes in to be his hands, and Rick is pondering whether or not he's going to buy this portable sawmill and mill his own stuff, and just a whole bunch of logistical stuff that Rick was working on. Well, he sent Ernie in to cut down the trees that he had previously marked that he wanted dropped down and out of the way, just so he had an open area, a field of view around his cabin that he's going to build. So Ernie's in there by himself one day, and Rick had an old F350 pickup truck with a camper in the back, so he parked it there for Ernie to use. Well, sorry, damn mosquitoes are trying to get me. So what ends up happening is that, you know, he gets it parked there and stuff, and Ernie's staying in it. And for about 3 or 4 days, Ernie goes through, and he's not just dropping the trees, he's limbing them, he's moving the brush from, you know, the limb piles and burning those, and, you know, bucking up the wood for firewood for future use. So he's doing a lot of work. It's not, you know, just dropping trees ain't nothing, but once you start processing the shit, it takes some time. So, you know, it's about 3 or 4 days eating up with that, and Rick finally makes it in to join him. Well, one of the issues that Ernie immediately pointed out to him is that there's screaming coming from across a little creek on the backside of the property that led up into the mountains. And Ernie tells him, hey, look, this scream sounded like a woman being murdered. But when I went to investigate last night, all I heard was a deep growl when I got down by this creek. So Rick was like, okay, well, geez, you know, I'll report it. I don't know what will come of it or whatever. So as the days go on, Ernie is, again, every other morning telling him, hey, that screaming's continuing, man. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable here. Rick was like, well, I want to hear it myself. I believe you, but I want to hear it myself, so I will stay the night here a couple nights and try to help you figure out what this screaming is. So Rick, you know, reluctantly, because he's not feeling good, he's got a rotator cuff injury, it's kind of hard for him to get comfortable at home, let alone in this camper. So they're sharing the camper. And the first night it was dead quiet. Rick said it was so quiet, it was eerie, and it made him feel a certain way inside he couldn't express. So I was like, well, fair enough. So the following night, Rick leaves in the morning. Ernie continues his work, just clearing, you know, land. They had a little bobcat in there, and Ernie was pushing some of the brush and stuff back, you know, just creating a perimeter basically. And so Rick comes back that night to stay again, because he was real curious about this screaming, because of how just how serious Ernie was about it. How the look in his eye, he knew Ernie wasn't bullshitting him or trying to play games, not trying to get out of work. So Rick is back, and Ernie is making himself something to eat, and he offers some to Rick, and Rick accepts the offer. Of course, he's hungry. So as Ernie's cooking, it's getting into land of the midnight sun. That time of year, it doesn't get overly dark at night. The sky stays kind of like lighter twilight, and we're in that time of year, you're getting on into the longer days of the season. So land of the midnight sun type of deal, right? But where they're at the base of the mountain, it gets a little darker because the sun goes behind the mountain at that time of year, and you know, it gets a certain level of darkness. So with that in mind, it's basically twilight. All the tree line is just silhouetted dark. The sky is light, but everything at tree level and below is dark. So they're sitting there, they get to eating, and as they're eating, Ernie hears something that Rick doesn't. He goes, "Do you hear that growling? Listen real close." And then so Rick starts listening, and he realizes he's feeling the growling inside this little in the bed of the camper, or in the bed of the truck camper, right? These cab over campers. And he's like, "Oh, that must be a really big bear." So Rick grabs the flashlight and starts banging on stuff coming out of the camper to scare off any bear. So he gets out, he's kind of beaming around with the flashlight, doesn't see much, goes to his truck and retrieves the shotgun. Now he grabs the shotgun from behind the seat. All he's got in it is birdshot, because the last time he used it was for duck hunting or goose hunting or something. So he brings it in. All he has is those, you know, goose loads basically. And so he looks around before going inside with the in the camper with the shotgun, and Ernie's kind of standing out there with them, looking around. Nothing. They see nothing, hear nothing. And so they decide they're gonna just eat, call it a night, and not worry about this bear. Give me one moment. I'm gonna reposition myself. I gotta check to make sure there's not a bear above behind me. I hear some noises, so give me just a minute. All right, sorry about that. I had to get myself with a little more open surroundings, just in case I have to thwart a bear attack or anything like that. Anyway, so they're settling in for the night. Rick had brought the shotgun in, and they heard the growl, and we're just chalking it up to a bear. And Rick was just giving him bear advice, and Ernie was from the village, well versed in bears, and starts laughing at Rick and told him, "Look, I know what a damn bear is, you know, so spare me your knowledge on bears. I've been around them." And so they went back and forth about bears, and Ernie shared with them some things that, you know, pertain to the subject or whatever. So they get into going to sleep, and just as things are quieting down inside the camper, there's a thump, but it's not a thump against the camper, it's a thump against, it sounded like one of the front tires got bumped real hard, and they both thought it was odd. So Rick wanting to potentially chase off anyone who was playing games, because there was neighbors that were developing property adjacent to him that had some younger teenage guys, but initially he thought maybe kids were fucking around, just being bored, you know, going into summer, they got nothing better to do. So he figured, okay, I'm gonna get out. Ernie was still sitting up, kind of reading by headlamp light. Now this is '88, they don't have, you know, cell phones and shit like that. But Rick had one of those Polaroid cameras, and so he figures, okay, I'm going to use the flash on this damn thing, and I'm going to scare the shit out of these kids and teach them a lesson. He had no film in the damn thing. He just had the little flash cube or whatever on there that was super bright. So he goes outside, and his flashlight wasn't doing much. As he's looking around, he hears movement off in the tree line and starts yelling, hey, you know, you stay off my property, you know, all that kind of stuff. Not a sound back. It's dead quiet outside. And he's just trying to figure out, well, why in the hell and who in the hell is messing with us? As he's turning around, because he's at the front of the truck at this time, as he turns around to head back to the back of the camper to get back in and go to sleep, he hears the growling again. And he said it sounded like it was on top of him. So, you know, I asked him, I was like, well, did it sound like it was on top of you, or did it feel like it was on top of you? All right. Hold on a second here. Man, anyway, sorry about that. So he gets back inside the camper. Sorry, I lost train of thought for a second there. There's a young bear somewhere in here through here, and I keep hearing noises, but with how everything reverberates around, I can hear people talking way down over there. I can hear people talking down over here. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact sounds, but I don't want to be caught unaware. So holler if a bear comes up behind me. So Rick gets back in the camper and basically is trying to sort out what he had been hearing and the noises and stuff and the yelling and all that stuff. And he's telling Ernie, well, I'm going to leave that shotgun with you because obviously something's going on here. Don't kill any innocent kids. Scare them off if you can. And tomorrow I'll get better rounds for it in case it is a bear, because you don't want to be shooting bears with, you know, bird shot basically. And so Ernie's, you know, reassuring him, yeah, I'm well versed with bears. Just, you know, do whatever. I'll continue working. And so a couple more days pass. Rick was gone. I brought him back some slugs and some double-aught buck for the shotgun, and also his little old Colt 45. And so Rick is basically in and out of the property, and he's hearing these things from Ernie. So from Ernie's perspective, over the next week, things were being thrown at this camper. He had been screamed at a couple times at night when he came outside to relieve himself. All of this stuff that he shared with Rick is just taken kind of with a grain of salt, like, man, there's got to be something to this. And then Ernie brings up the hairy man. And, you know, Rick was never accustomed to hearing about it, had heard old stories from old natives, but chalked it up to folklore and what have you. So he listens to Ernie, hears him out, and basically tells Ernie, well, that sounds like a load of shit. And, you know, just watch yourself. If you don't want to be here, let me know. I got to go through it. And so Rick admits he starts crying about having to hire someone else, and please just work and don't worry about the excess shit. Well, he's not experiencing what Ernie is. And Ernie is being screamed at. He's having things thrown at him. And so he's not in the most pleasant of moods with Rick, and is on the verge of quitting when he says, look, because over the course of that week, more and more stuff has been happening, more things being thrown at the camper, more grunts, screams, just a litany of shit, right? And Ernie's at his wit's end because he's not sleeping. The past couple nights he hadn't slept. So when Rick comes to bring some supplies or something, some chain oil and some other stuff, Ernie's like, you need to experience some of this shit because it is getting too much for me to even be here. And so Rick says, all right, I'll have free time in a couple days. I got a doctor's appointment, so when I'm done in Anchorage and all that, I'll come back, I'll stay a few nights, and I'll see if I could pick up what you're putting down, you know. And again, Rick was so skeptical. And so by the time he comes back, the whole camper had been shaken a couple times. So much so that Ernie didn't have the keys to move this camper. He was basically there to work. Rick had the keys with him. But the camper, the rear end of it had been pushed. You could see the drag marks of the tires. This thing was pushed about 5 feet from the tailgate side. It was pushed 5 feet. And, you know, the Bobcat was no longer there. That was a rental. So he knows that Ernie wasn't fucking around using the Bobcat to pull it over to say, hey, look what's happening, you know, that kind of shit. So Rick is perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. And so Ernie's like, I'm done. Look, dude, I'm done. I quit. Pay me for my time. Good luck. I'm done. So he has to, you know, gives Ernie a ride to Anchorage, and Ernie goes off and whatnot. And so now it's just Rick, and Rick can't find anybody because all his friends are out playing, you know, fishing. They ain't got time to help him. So he's having to do what he can when he can. So over the course of that summer, he'd come in, do a little bit of cutting when his shoulder's feeling up to it. He can only do about 20 minutes at a time, and then, you know, he was basically spent because his shoulder was killing him, and he's still trying to heal, so it's not helping. And so it goes on like that until the fall. He virtually gets nothing accomplished. He reaches out to Ernie again because Ernie was a hard worker, was getting shit done, and couldn't find him. Couldn't find Ernie, so he ends up hiring another young kid. Hold on a second. I keep hearing something. It's reverberating up over here. I wonder if it's back around the corner maybe. Someone might be running machinery around the corner, but it keeps hearing like I'm hearing bear grunts from over my shoulder, and that's a fucking... I'm gonna face this way. All right, so he keeps looking for help and someone to pitch in, be a hard worker for him, and what have you, right? So he's not having the best of luck. So he finally gets this kid. He's about 18, and it's the kid's first, you know, real job, like outside of I think he worked at McDonald's before that or something, but first manual labor job with expectations, because Rick had a high level of expectation because he's trying to get shit done. So he's teaching the kid how to use a chainsaw, how to buck up wood. Basically, class is in session for this kid, and it's getting into fall, and Rick knows he's not going to get his cabin built that year. So as he's trying to figure things out and find some real help, because all his buddies that he knew were carpenters, they're in the swing of building homes. They're in mid-contracts. They can't just break away and do his project, and he's aware of that. So he's feeling a little better with the rotator cuff injury. He's not 100%, so he's pitching in more and more, trying to get as much done as possible. So he ends up staying a couple nights because the kid was giving him reports of weird screams, weird moaning sounds. So Rick is like, all right, there's got to be something to this. If two different people are saying the same shit, I heard some weird stuff, but I could chalk that up to a bear. I have nothing definitive. And so as he's staying that first night with the new kid, the place is shook again, violently shooken. Just as he was about to be dozing off, he thought it was maybe an earthquake at first. And then the younger kid is hearing this growling. And Rick is like, all right, yeah, no. Rick started hearing it as well. It was really, Rick said it was so low, you felt it more than heard it. And so he's like, man, this is odd. So he grabs the shotgun. He's got some new flashlights and stuff because it's getting into fall. It's dark at night. So he jumps out. He's yelling, damn it, bears, get out of here, bears, bears. You know, he's yelling at the bears. Well, as he's beaming the trees, looking for this bear and where it could have gone and looking for any signs of this bear, he notices eye shine real low to the ground. But the width between the two eyes is a bit much for a bear. So he's concerned about what this thing could be just because of its sheer size. And as he's watching it, he's yelling, get out of here, bear, get out of here, bear, because that's his only frame of reference at this point. The whole hairy man thing was out of his mind. Not last thing he said, he he didn't believe any of the hairy man stuff. He said it was hokey business up till that point. Let me clarify. Up to that point, it was all hokey business. It was all someone's imagination run wild, old folklore, blah, blah, blah. Well, as he's watching this eye shine, the kid comes out from behind him from the camper and is beaming his flashlight over as well. And the kid was like asking him, hey, what the hell is that? You know, the eye shine was red. And as the kid's asking him this, the eye shine starts to raise up and raise up and raise up. He said it must have went from 2 to 3 feet off the ground that he could, you know, kind of guesstimate because of it was dark out and it was under flashlight and he didn't have any visual references right next to it at the time. He was guesstimating it was about 2 or 3 feet off the ground. It had to have gone up to almost 10 feet off the ground. And then it screamed at them. He said when they were beaming, all they saw was the eye shine because it was just back far enough out of the power of the flashlight to fully illuminate it. But the eyes were giving back the eye shine. He said it screamed at them. He said he felt it in his chest. It scared him so much he dropped the shotgun and the flashlight. And they both broke for Rick's other truck. He said he got in the truck and realized he left his keys and stuff and wallet in the camper. So he had to, without a gun or a flashlight, he pulled the little pull handle, the old school headlights, pulled out the headlight little dial thing, turned on the headlights, and the eye shine was gone. And so he runs over, jumps in the camper, grabs the keys, comes back, starts up the rig, and they get the hell out of Dodge. On the way to more civilized surroundings, he decides we'll just stay at a hotel and go back in the morning in the light. Super freaked out. Comes back, and the kid quit the following morning. Was like, I don't know what the hell that was. It was huge. There was weird stuff happening before. I'm done. So Rick has lost 2 people, and he's at a loss. He doesn't know what to do. So he basically calls it because they went. He had to go back himself, pick up the shotgun and the flashlight, close down basically his little work area, and he leaves for the season. Now, during that later on that fall, going into winter, he found out that Ernie was killed in a car accident. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I had to check on something really quick. So he finds out through a friend of a friend that Ernie was supposedly killed in this car accident. And so he was like, well, that's weird. So, and he really liked Ernie. So he reached out to the family to send his condolences and, you know, whatnot, see what he could do to help, you know, with any burial costs or whatever it may be. Well, come to find out, he wasn't killed in a car accident. His car was found abandoned and he was missing, just gone, just disappeared. No explanation for it, no answers, just poof, gone. So I mean, what do you do with that? You know what I mean? There was no trail to follow, no nothing, guy's gone. So Rick ends up back next season at his cabin site, trying to get it pieced together and whatnot. And as it's middle of the day, it's early in the spring. There's still patches of snow here and there, but he's getting a bunch of sonotubes ready to pour basically the beginnings of his foundation. And so he's going to have it on, it's going to be elevated off the ground. So he's got the sonotubes, he's got a bunch of them laid out, and he's doing his thing. Middle of the day. All of a sudden, out of his peripheral view, going from his right to his left, this thing walks out. He said it was strawberry blonde, approximately 7.5, 8 foot tall, appeared to be a female, scraggly looking hair, but not totally unkempt, just looked like, he said you could see the skin through the hair, so it wasn't really dense hair. It was kind of light. Said this thing looked over at him as he was kind of sizing up his measurements and stuff, making sure he was square on his layout. And this thing walked by, looked over at him, kind of showed teeth, kind of gave like a little bit of a snarl, and he was in shock. He knows he's seen eye shine the year before, had kind of put that out of his mind, but this one walking by just freaked him out. He kind of sat there. He was out in the middle of this pad. He didn't want to run and cause any kind of chase reflex from this animal, creature, whatever he was trying to determine at the time. And so he just sits there. He watches it walk off to his left, goes into the trees, basically no other sound made. Didn't even hear it walking. And there was a bunch of brush and stuff. He said he should have heard it walking. He didn't hear a thing. So as he kind of pulls himself together, he backs away once it's clear and gets over to his truck, and he sits in it and he starts thinking about everything Ernie had said. Everything Ernie had told him, all of a sudden had a whole different light shined on it. And so Rick gets out of there. He's gone for a couple weeks, comes back. When he comes back, he damn near had given up and just decided damn near to put this property up for sale. He gets back, all the sonotubes that he had laid out are just missing. They could have blown away or whatever, damn, something got me. So anyway, so he's basically ready to give up on this property. And so he really doesn't want to, but he's at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to do about what's been going on. And so he ends up talking to a buddy of his, and his buddy agrees that, hey, I'll buy the property from you. I'll pay you a little extra for what you've developed so far and get you out of it. And so, you know, after a little bit of deliberation, he tells his friend, well, I got to tell you, and lays out everything that happened. And the guy he's selling to just kind of laughs at him and goes, whatever. Like it was no big deal. Like he didn't believe 1 ounce of what Rick was trying to tell him. So Rick was like, okay, well, if you want to buy it, a little bit of a premium over what I did for what I've invested, done deal. Sells it to the guy. And as they're in the course of making the sale or whatever, Rick backs out. It was damn near last minute. He backs out, says, no, I'm gonna stay here. So nothing else happens over the course of the next few years of him finally getting the place built. So this was in 1988-ish, where he, almost sells it and then backs out, and then over the next few years up until 93, it took him to complete it, with everything complete, just because of his slope work and coming back and forth. So he's been there since. He's since retired, and the only reason he reached out to share this story is nothing happened since he said he had last heard a scream around 95, and it was off in the distance across that creek back up into the mountains there. So he's basically, it's been quiet up until last year. And once the scream started again and he saw one cross the property last fall, that's when he made up his mind to share it. He's reached out to some other people and they kind of blew him off. And he reached out to me earlier, I think it was just after Easter or whatever. And Rick, thanks for your patience, man. And I understand your schedule, and our schedules was kind of hard to get the experience out. But so he knows of other people, and he's going to reach out to them about things that have occurred over a long period of time and people just coping with it. Rick's still there to this day. Outside of the scream and the crossing of his property last season, he said it's been relatively quiet, but he wants more people to take it serious. And he also wanted me to dedicate this to Ernie, who's missing. He still feels bad to this day for mocking the guy, and obviously Ernie wasn't bullshitting, so we'll dedicate this to Ernie. Rest in peace wherever you are. Not his real name, but we'll leave it at that. And I want to thank you guys for joining me and having patience with me being a little sketched out up here. It is it's beautiful up here, man. I can't begin to I mean, well, just now a whole lot of tourists come up into this area, which is really, yeah, it is what it is. You know, give everyone access, you know, they go crazy. But anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll give you guys another quick little glance around here while I'm getting tore up by the mosquitoes. You can really hear that creek down there. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll catch you on the next one. All right. Man, it is just beautiful. I'm gonna spend some SD card space here just showcasing you guys the natural beauty. It's just beyond. I mean, obviously you can look, here's some of the little blackberry patch here that ain't grown in yet. There's all sorts of little mammals that live up here. Little windswept bush there. Gosh, just beautiful. Oh shit, look at that investment. Talk about modified. Looks like he took the ass end off of that thing and they added on an Atco. Now I can imagine that was quite an investment for that kind of toy. But you can basically go where you want, as they obviously are doing. Look at this natural beauty here. It didn't take me horribly long to hike up here in the big scheme of things. It's just, as you can see, it's pretty steep, so you got to kind of sidestep coming down. Goodness gracious. That's Summit Lake right over that little knoll there. Just beautiful. Those marmots or rock chucks, whatever you want to call them, were down over there in that boulder field. I forget the name of the big mouse looking one that with the big ears and no tail. It'll come to me when I'm not thinking about it. Oh hey, a bumblebee. Look at that. Crawling around. He's doing some investigating himself. And it just looks landscape, doesn't it? It just looks beautifully landscape for everyone to enjoy. But once you get into that brush over there, some of it's a lot taller than you would imagine. I seen a little bit of bear sign earlier, like a dig out. I didn't even think to film it. It's back over behind me a ways. I'm not going to backtrack, but the bears will come up here looking for an easy meal and spend hours trying to dig out these little ground squirrels. It is amazing how much effort they put into feeding themselves. I was filming earlier back over there. Oh, something squawking, telling on me, saying that damn Fred's coming back. There's all sorts of little hiding places and crevices in through here where all these little critters live, obviously. Just a beautiful area. You can hear our fighter jets overhead doing their maneuvers. Anchorage would be over the mountain that way. Let's see here. Coming down is a lot easier than going up, trust me. Again, it didn't take me long because Let's see, I hiked up here, went up through these rocks and back over. But I do this quite often, so it's not too taxing on me. I don't know if you could tell, but underneath this moss is rocks. And so every once in a while you'll be stepping, you'll find a soft spot that'll be in between, like that right there. That's a little soft from a little gap in the rocks. Goodness. All right, well, I'll stop boring you guys with my descent down. We're on the backside of Hatcher's Pass. Just beautiful. I had to get out here early to beat the damn tourists. You can see the Tahoe over yonder. So thank you for joining me. Thanks again to Rick, and again dedicated to Ernie and all those people out there who aren't believed. There's a whole lot. Anyway, thanks again for joining me, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Keeping an eye on me. He was looking out for the Tahoe. Good looking out, buddy. His partner was somewhere over here. There's a pair of them. Not like the critters in the wild, I tell ya. Comes a truck, probably gonna scare him off. No. Oh, yeah. I thought I didn't give a shit at first. Look at how beautiful that little critter is. Yeah. I mean, if you're not moving very much, I mean, I'm 20 feet away. Looks like he's digging for something. What are you digging for, bud? Must be eating some kind of roots or something. Must see a lot of people out this way, because he doesn't seem overly concerned with me and what I'm doing. Oh, there's a partner right up on the rock looking at me. Oh, got a little too close. Alright, well, thanks for letting me film you guys. So I got your consent to show you on YouTube? You good? Alright, thank you.